Hello, pen testers. This is Punit Darji back again with another cloud pen testing video. And in this video, we are going to talk about Lambda function. Before we start our video, let me introduce myself. My name is Punit Darji, head of product at World Machines, where I create labs, reproduce CVs, and create CV videos on YouTube channel World Machines. I do pen testing and red teaming work. Man behind World Machines platform, that is me, Punit Darji. So those who don't know about World Machines, so World Machines is cybersecurity platform acquired by the SecOps group. World Machines is a totally free for people who are willing to learn about cybersecurity. So check out worldmachines.com. What is AWS Lambda? So probably you have heard the buzzword in developer community is a serverless. So AWS Lambda is a serverless computing service provided by Amazon Web Services. It allows you to run your code without provisioning or managing servers. AWS Lambda runs your code only when you need it and scale automatically from few requests per day to thousands requests per second. In short, you pay for the compute time that you consume, not for the ideal time. So AWS Lambda is like having your own team of servers that magically appears whenever you needed them and vanish when you don't. So it's a service that lets you run your code without worrying about managing servers. Instead of managing servers, you just focus on writing your application code. These are the key features of AWS Lambda. So first is event-driven execution. Lambda functions are triggered by events. These events could be things like changing in data, HTTP request, file uploads, or even a scheduled time. Second is scaling. The beauty of Lambda is that scales automatically. If a lot of event happens at once, Lambda spin up multiple copies of your function to handle the load. When things quiet down, it scales back down. Third is a pay per use that I have already explained. You only pay for the time that your code is running. No need to pay for the ideal time. So these are the key features. Execution process of Lambda function. So let's consider an example where you have Lambda function that is connected to an API gateway. When a client makes a HTTP request to API, it triggers the Lambda function. So these are the triggers that happens when Lambda function call. So first, event trigger, HTTP request to the API gateway. Second is function execution. Lambda initialize the execution environment. Third is a handler invocation. The specified handler function in your code is invoke, receive the HTTP request details. Fourth is a code execution. Your code is process the request, perform the operations and generate the response. And fifth is a result generation. The response is returned to the API gateway, which is send it back to the client. So these are the events occur when a client make a request to the API. These are the possible cyber attacks on AWS Lambda. So first is injection attacks. The malicious code injected into input to manipulate or compromise the execution environment. Second is denial of service, overloading the function with the excessive request to disrupt the normal operation. Fourth is a code execution. Fifth is a privilege escalation. Then after unauthorized access, exploiting misconfiguration to gain unauthorized access. So these are the possible cyber attacks. Even though we can add more cyber attacks, it depends on the attacker, how attacker find the vulnerability, and depends on the application as well. So these are the possible cyber attacks that I have explained. Now let's move on to the demo part. So first scenario is a privilege escalation vulnerability. So let's get into the practical, so you will get the better understanding rather than I am just talking about the theory part. Let's start with the SSRF vulnerability. So here I am passing the random username and password, and this is the result, method not found. So let's check with the SSRF on forget password. So let's click on forget password, and here you can see 403 and redirect slash URL is equals to parameter is there. So just copy this domain and HTTP and hit the enter. Let's check with the get results on DNS log platform. So get results. So no results found. Let's check with the URL. Okay, so we need to pass DEV. So let's copy and paste it over here and slash, hit the enter. So just wait. Okay, so it's showing internal server error. Let's check the get results, and here we go. So we get the results. So this is the SSRF vulnerability on Lambda function. So whenever you find the SSRF vulnerability, always check with the runtime invocation. So for that, just capture the request and send to the repeater, and here pass the localhost 9001 off and slash 2018-0601 pass 2018-0601 slash runtime slash invocation slash next. So this is the endpoint. So AWS Lambda function expose an internal API on localhost port 9001 that is meant for custom Lambda runtimes, but it is accessible within active invocation of the function. This means that if you get remote code execution or SSRF vulnerability within the Lambda function, you can query that API. This is the endpoint, runtime invocation slash next endpoint, that will return event data that was passed into the function for the current execution, where you may be able to find some secret or other useful information to extend your attack into the environment. So whenever you find SSRF on Lambda function, always check with the runtime invocation. You will get some sensitive information to extend your attack into the environment. So this is the result we get. So as you can see, CloudFront is used, and you can see some of the IP addresses. So X forwarded port. So these are the results we get when we pass the runtime invocation. So this is the vulnerability about SSRF and runtime invocation. So let's take remote code execution to privilege escalation vulnerability. So this is the vulnerable application, and click on catalog. So as you can see over here, it's showing the date, current date and time in the execution date parameter. So let's try with the ls command. So we get the list of files in the AWS Lambda function. So as you can see, app.py and different files are there. Now let's try with the let's get the environment variable details. So let's for that print env So the print env command display the value of environment variables. So as you can see, AWS session token, access key ID, AWS access key ID, secret key, etc. So let's create the profile. Just open AWS, configure profile name, vulnerable lambda, and hit the enter. And let's copy access key ID and access key, secret key as well. So let's access key, just copy before /n and hit the enter. For same access key, so here access key, secret key, and the default region. So as you can see in the URL, US waste 2, hit the enter. And for the default output, so let's copy the token first. So we are not going to give any output, so just copy token. And for the session token, we will set manually in the credentials files. So for the credentials path, you can see in the display, this is the credential path. So just set AWS session token, session underscore token, and paste the token and save. So let's first get caller identity. So AWS STS get caller identity. So get caller identity details about the IAM user or role whose credentials are used to call the operation. So we are going to use vulnerable lambda's credentials. So it's a assume role, and my S3 service. So let's try with the S3 bucket or AWS S3 LS. So AWS LS and pass the S3 profile and give the vulnerable lambda. Okay, we are missing something. First of all, let's CLS, and okay, we need to give S3LS, not LS S3. So just S3LS and hit the enter. So you can see we have this 6 buckets. So my S3 service bucket is important for us for this attack. So let's S3 and pass the copy this and give the profile vulnerable lambda and hit the enter. So you can see serverless object, the folder is there. Okay, then give /serverless and hit the enter. Oh, okay, we need to give / at the end, so it will go inside, and hit the enter. So my S3 service is another folder. It's better to give the recursive. So pass the recursive command, recursive SIVE, and hit the enter. So as you can see, these are the files in the bucket. So app.zip, serverless.json, and compile cloudformation template.json. So these are the files inside the S3 bucket. So let's download a app.zip file. So for that we will pass the S3 CP S3CP and S3LS, not the S3CP, and download app.zip file. So for that, just pass the file path. So let me download app.zip, copy and paste, and remove the recursive, and give dot. So dot represent current directory, so it will download in current directory. So let's download and hit the enter. So download successfully. So let's check dir. So app.zip, here we go. Let's open this file. So we have download the app.zip file, start dot, and let me maximize app.zip file. So these are the files inside app.zip. So we have successfully downloaded the zip file, and we can access the file from inside the zip, so that are mentioned in the S3 bucket. So let's try to upload some files. So for that we will create a txt file. So let's create txt file, give the name vulnerable file. So vulnerable file.txt, and just write it down whatever you want. Just I am writing takeover by upload by Puneet Darji. Just save. Let's get the S3 bucket. So S3LS, and pass the profile vulnerable Lambda, and hit the enter. So copy the bucket name. Now let's upload the vulnerable txt file. So vulnerable file.txt. So just CLS and AWS S3 CP vulnerable file.txt, and pass the bucket name, and pass the profile vulnerable Lambda, and hit the enter. So file upload successfully. So let's check whether the file is uploaded successfully or not. So S3. Okay, so here we need to pass S3 and pass the bucket name, and here we go. So we have successfully uploaded the vulnerable file.txt in my S3 service dev bucket. So this is all about the vulnerability. To give walkthrough of the application where we have performed different attacks, so we have passed the domain from dig.pm on URL parameter and perform the SSRF vulnerability. In continuation, we have performed the runtime invocation attack where we have passed on URL parameter localhost 9001 2018-0601 runtime invocation / next. So this is the endpoint that we have passed on the URL parameter, and get the details about the event. So for the RC, we have seen the catalog URL where current date and time was displayed. So we have passed the print env on execution parameter to get the variable details, environment variable details. Then we have configured the profile and download files from the S3 bucket, and also we have upload the vulnerable file.txt as well. I have created one more task on vulmachines.com, so you can check out vulmachines.com where you can perform the vulnerable Lambda attack. So check out vulmachines.com. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you like this video. If you like, then share with your InfoSec friends and subscribe our channel. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.